So my name is Efrain Ortiz. I've been with Symantec 15 years. 13 of those as a systems engineer running around the East Coast of the United States. And then 2 years ago, I moved into this innovation team where I get to work on skunkworks projects and come up with stuff. So all my sci-fi dreams from my childhood, I can try to bring to reality. And last fall, I attended this session, and I sat right there, and I really liked what I saw, and kind of was asked, would you like to do something? And I kind of, without thinking, said, sure. And I volunteered to write a program to interface with one of our flagship products, Endpoint Protection, which many of you are aware of. And I was asked, so what would you do? I'll support 3 OpenC2 commands. At this point, I had not learned how to program yet. So I volunteered to do something because I needed that push to learn. And so I had to pick a language, time frame, what commands to support, and all this stuff. So I developed this from the outside looking in. I didn't have any inside knowledge or any inside meetings or anything. So you'll see from the way this demo goes and the breakout session, if you join me, I'll share all the pains that I went through so you don't go through them. So first, agenda slide. I'm just going to go over one slide about our API openness. I was surprised. Another thing I learned, how Symantec has opened other products already. And the APIs are out there, but not many people know about them. So I'll share those with you. Then I'm going to discuss the goals, which that'll be one slide. The workflow will be kind of the crayon version of how the program is executing. Lots of pictures, so that even my 11-year-old could understand it. And then the breakout session will be the geeky one, so join me there. And then which targets, which actuators and actions and all that stuff I ended up choosing and why. And then a POC. I decided not to tempt the gods, the demo gods, and so it's all video. If you want to see it live at the breakout session, I'll actually bring up the software and virtual environment, and you can poke at it. OK, so first one, the API. APIs that we offer. I highlighted in blue just the one that we're discussing today. So the slide, I had to keep the slide to a minimum, so I didn't put exactly which ones were RESTful and which ones were SOAP. But you can go to those links. The ones that have links are APIs that you can actually get to the references, the reference models, without a paywall, without a registration. It's literally just open. So you can just get access to it. And I wanted to make that a point, because some folks don't do that. You have to kind of pay. And I mean, we do also do something like that. Like managed services has no URL, but it does have a REST API, but you have to pay. You have to pay to get the API access. But if you wanted to check those out, you can get those today and play around with that, or at least look through them. SEP 12, I put SEP 12, somebody else brought this up to me yesterday. SEP 12, I had to put it there, even though you would think, oh, but if 14 is supported and works today, why isn't 12? 12 was SOAP-based, so it's very different. I would have to code my application completely differently. So SOAP is 12, 14 is REST. Any questions there, actually? If one of those in particular you have a question on, no? Well, the slides will be available, and you can go to those links. So I named my project Project Little Fire because it's the Celtic meaning of my son's name. So I was like, I'm going to name this, this is my 3rd kid. So I'll expose, I want to expose the SEP manager and the clients to OpenC2 commands because I just think it's cool to interoperate. I liked the message last year, and I want to push it. So after pushing it internally, people started to see that, hey, we could leverage this between products. Maybe we should use this. We have an appliance, a malware analysis appliance. Could we expose that? So we started, actually that's another, I'm not showing that today, but the ability to have this OpenC2 proxy retrieve a file and then send it to the Symantec MAA appliance for sandbox analysis. So that's somebody else is working on that piece with the code. But that's helping us look at standardizing the language between different products, because we have, we're huge. So we have different divisions working on different products, and they're all implementing REST, but in slightly different ways. Well, can I help standardize that? So that's what I've been charging with. Product-to-product integration, development time, cost savings. So that's, hey, instead of me having to learn the REST API for this product, and then a different one for this one, and then another one for this one, why can't I just write a little proxy, or have one of our divisions write a little proxy, and I can standardize the same language across all of them? So that could save us a lot of time and money. All right, let's geek out a little bit. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to see, because it's very graphical, and I'm going to try to make it funny. If you want to get serious, come to the breakout session. Keep in mind that what you're about to see, that doesn't matter if it's a human or a machine doing it, but I'm going to show it as if a human was actually clicking. If any of you attended DEF CON last year, you saw the machines working by themselves, and I saw that would be the machine on the right. And actually, that was kind of an inspiration for wanting to do this, because the machines are eventually going to use this to orchestrate stuff, in my opinion. So anyway, let's do the comic strip. So an analyst says, I need to delete the file named otaku.exe with a file hash of blah. So the orchestrator kicks it off. Again, machine or human initiated. Can you guys see that? So the arrow represents that's a OpenC2 command coming from the orchestrator talking to the OpenC2 portion of my proxy. So the yellow is the Symantec OpenC2 proxy I developed in Node.js. So that piece in blue that it's talking to is receiving OpenC2 commands. Then it says, hey, I see you want me to delete a file on one of my clients. Stand by for acknowledgement. And this spoke to one of the statements made this morning about some of the commands are not instantaneously acknowledged. I encountered that same problem because some of our commands may take minutes, hours, or days. Because if somebody's on vacation and their machine hasn't checked in, as soon as they check in, they get the command, and then I need a way to get those commands back to the orchestrator, letting them know that guy you wanted me to contain 2 weeks ago, I finally did it because they finally turned their computer on. All right, that was, lessons learned. I'll go into that one. That was a pain. So that command comes through. Haven't sent an acknowledgement to the orchestrator yet because I need to translate. I need to translate the OpenC2 language, and that's the middle piece, to REST, to Symantec REST. And that was, if you look at the reference, that was crazy. So it's like XML wrapped inside JSON, which I've never seen before. But set manager, I need to delete a file on a specific endpoint. So now it sends a Symantec formatted REST call to the manager. And the manager has the REST API interface there. It says, I got it. So the Symantec sends a long string that's unique for every single command. Now my proxy gets that, and now it sends the orchestrator. I leverage that number since it's unique. It's very long, so like a hash. And I send that number in the command reference portion of the OpenC2 command. So now the orchestrator got a response within like a second saying, this is your reference, and from now on, my proxy will be able to reference that on both sides. Okay? Thanks. I got the receipt. All right. And then here, I'm going to show the SEP client checking in and retrieving our evidence of compromise scan. So I'm leveraging the API inside of Symantec that allows evidence of compromise scans, basically looking for registry keys, files, processes, and a lot of other stuff, but I can't expose that just yet. Stay tuned. I'll place the command letter in the endpoint's queue and wait for endpoint to retrieve. So the manager has that command that came in. It's waiting. This guy might be on vacation, right? So actually, let's say it's Friday. That's a more common thing, or Thanksgiving. They turn it off. They come in Monday morning. They check in. I have a command waiting for me. I'm supposed to scan for this otaku file. And otaku is just Japanese for hacker, for trivia. I see you have delete instructions for me. So it executes, it finds the otaku file, and deletes it. Here are the results. And here's another problem I encountered. I got the results over here, but this does not respond back. It's not a publish subscribe model. So how in the heck am I going to get over this? So I had to write a queue and a scheduler piece in here that basically says, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? And that's going to be user configurable, okay? The people who are nodding their heads laughing have programmed before. So the command comes over and says, are you done? And I made it so that you could configure it in a config JSON file. I use JSON for everything. So even the configuration for this thing is JSON, and it has it check the heartbeat. It's going to get too geeky, but it's a value you'll be able to set. All right, so it checks over, and the SEP manager says, yep, here are the results. But wait, that only sent the results to the proxy, not to the orchestrator. So now I have to wait for the orchestrator to be interested in the results, or the orchestrator could have sent a second command. So an OpenC2 orchestrator could actually say, here's the command. I want you to delete otaku. And by the way, got the receipt. When you're done, give me the results. That's 2 commands, right? So in this example, I have the commands happening one after the other after a long period of time, but that's irrelevant. They could have come in seconds apart. And then that gets queued here, where this guy is now waiting. When it checks, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Oh, you're done? Do I have anybody asking for that? Yup. And where do they want me to send it? Oh, that's Splunk device over there? Okay, I'll send it over there. That's all managed here. All right. So then the orchestrator checks in, hey, when you have the results for receipt X, that long value that I told you about. Then when you're done, please go ahead and forward it to that remote server, because that's one of the specifiers in OpenC2, where you can say, here's the command, and I want you to send the results over there, not necessarily to me, which I thought was pretty cool. And as soon as I retrieve the results, I'll send to remote server, okay? So now the pictures actually have meaning. Again, talking to the OpenC2 piece, and then the middle layer is doing all the translation and the queuing and messaging and all that stuff. And then it responds back at this layer because it translates it back to OpenC2. And holy smokes, I flew through this. All right, remote server, I have an OpenC2 formatted message for you with results from receipt X, and the remote server gets those results. And thank you for the results. Now, this is currently in JSON with XML in it, because that's how I received. The XML is an object in JSON. Why did I do that? Because I have no idea what the expected output is, what is expected to be. I know there's a saying, lack of evidence is not evidence of lack. It just may be my ignorance, but I can't find where it says we want the results in this format in the specification. So I just wrote it in such a way that as soon as I find that in the spec, I'll just recode that section. I've compartmentalized the code enough that I can just change small pieces within it to adapt easily. Okay, so these are the vocabularies. So when I was choosing which things to support, when Wendy asked, so what are you going to do? What are you going to show? And I said, 3 commands. I had no idea which commands I was going to do. But I ended up choosing delete because it just made the most sense. You'd be interested in deleting a file, right? That file is a problem. I really wanted to do contain at the time. I started this late November, developing this thing. Well, first I had to take the Node.js classes to learn how to program, and then code it. But I really wanted contain, but our REST API did not support contain yet. So it wasn't until February, beginning of February, that we could support contain. But again, I compartmentalized the code so that I could support it when it was available. But January, I had this one working and this one working, and these guys working, but they're not that sexy. But these are the nice ones right there. And then which targets, file, Windows registry, device, and data. This is on the roadmap. This is to basically whitelist and blacklist processes. I haven't figured out how to talk to it yet. Probably another class I have to take. And then the actuator endpoint. And I had some issues with that as well, because in the spec, again, maybe I'm just ignorant, but I couldn't find a lot of the specifiers for endpoint. So I kind of trailblazed a little bit there and guessed, and again, compartmentalized the code so that when the OpenC2 spec matures a little bit more, I can just tweak one file. Instead of having to recompile everything, I literally tweak a JSON file. All right, and this is that kind of a visual representation of the actions and how they map to targets. So the delete command can only delete files. The query command can query for files and registry keys, but cannot delete, no deleting there, no deleting of registry keys. Contain can contain an entire computer, all right? I had to wait for our product to actually add that capability, which we got in February. Allow, I just added this 2 days ago. So I had the ability to contain a file, to quarantine a system, and make it so that the endpoint protection firewall activated and blocked it from communicating with anyone except the manager. But I had no way to undo it, because I couldn't find the uncontained command. And then, so, there's an allow command in OpenC2, and then I just copied the contained JSON file, changed it to allow, changed the target REST API call, and boop, I got a new command. So just to show you that it was pretty easy for a not so smart guy like me in 2 days ago to add a new command. And then report is the request from the orchestrator to the proxy to deliver results back to it when you're done, okay? And then response is just the receipt part, right? It's just OpenC2 response, acknowledge your command, all right? And then now I'm gonna show you the videos of the code. This is the sexy stuff, at least for me. There's the otaku file on a folder. I'm gonna use Postman, but this could be a curl command, your own Python script, your own Phantom or whatever orchestrator you want to use, right? Something that can call REST. All right, so I use Postman, and I specifically use the OpenC2 delete command, and it should start playing automatically. Well, it's like a Mac I hope it's not a Mac up there. Oh God, really? Oh, there you go. Cool. Then, somebody's clicking up there. Yeah, there's a little play button right there. It was supposed to auto start. Right there. Bottom left-hand side. All right, no, there you go. Hey, this thing works. Or not. You just double click. Okay, so I should have plugged in. Yeah, I should have done the real thing. Unbelievable. I really did try this many, many times. All right, so finger puppets time then. So at least leave this up then. So this is Visual Studio Code, which is basically like Notepad on steroids, and it actually helped train me, because it has all these little plugins that basically tell me when you're doing something wrong. Nope, that's not the right code. Nope, here's a suggestion. So it was awesome to learn how to code with this thing. But basically, I have the source code over here, and I hit play, and it listens on port 3000. Actually, the URI is OpenC2. Not very creative, but and what you would have seen is this thing launch up, and I added these little schedulers to get information about the machines that are in the environment, because how does the orchestrator know what machines are available? Maybe you have a CMDB or somewhere, but this is one way where the orchestrator can actually query the proxy for all available assets. I needed to keep all those assets, especially if you have like 100,000. I'm planning big. So if you had like a 200,000, 500,000 assets, you can't be hitting the manager every single time just to look up one machine hitting 200,000 results. So I cached it. And then I set the heartbeat for refreshing the cache. So you would have seen it just basically load up. And I was going to show you a little portal. So the portal has absolutely nothing to do with OpenC2. It had to do with how can I make my life easy when I'm developing this, so that I can have a portal where I can see that my commands actually flew in. I can see the commands flowing in, because it's kind of hard to watch Wireshark. Just there's a command. So I had a GUI, and then that GUI led me down a rabbit hole where I could actually now visualize like when the command started, when it ended, which ones are pending, that kind of stuff. But that has nothing to do with OpenC2. That's just to make it easy. You're not going to see the video unless the next one works. But basically, I was going to show you, if it works, you'll see me clicking on the Visual Studio Code and asking, Postman, and asking it to delete a file, and the proxy is going to say, nope, that machine does not exist. And then I have to re-query again with the right information, and then it gives me a receipt. So if you don't do it right, you don't get a receipt. And I don't know if that's correctly implemented, but as soon as I learn more about how I'm supposed to respond to a failed query, then I'll code that in. Okay. All right, let's see. Magic mouse, can you move to the bottom left-hand side, see if this plays? Is that? Oh, yeah. Does it play? And then don't move. Once you touch it, don't move it. Don't touch anything else. All right, no, it's not working. All right. Well, it will work in the breakout session. Wait. Please stand by. All right.
I'm hoping Bill's able to fix that, and we apologize that we didn't have it working. What I think some of you who weren't here last time need to understand is that working with the OpenC2 project, APL as well as several other institutions attempted to implement an early version of the OpenC2 spec. Efrain and their organization basically proved that it's one thing for a group of researchers who have been paid explicitly to make this library work. He proved that someone with a really cool visual programming interface can open up and connect these to a major product suite and make them interoperable. They're going to have their products interconnect, but it could be someone else's endpoint with their malware detonation or vice versa. And they're committed to supporting the community in doing that.
Yeah, and again, that's what it took a kind of a leap of faith, like, yeah, I can do that. And it was actually fun and not that hard once you understood both sides. And if you're a company, if you understand your product, it shouldn't be that hard to just learn the other side. Okay, so this is not going to work. All right, then, well, at least you got to see some JSON in the background. So you have action is delete, the target, OpenC2, and that changed too. So again, I tried to make the code predicting that this was going to happen, and I did not predict this was going to happen here today. But I made it so that I could alter these things fairly easily, because it used to say Cybox file, and then it mutated to OpenC2 file. I don't know if it'll mutate to something else, but I changed that last week. But anyway, it'll be the SHA-256, the hash, the actuator type, and then I'm not sure if that's the real specifier value, but I made it up. As soon as I find out what the real specifier value is, I'll add it. But I guessed, and I think I guessed correctly, because the network piece, when an actuator is a network, I looked at what they used, and I saw that it was related to Cybox. And when I saw what Cybox was doing for network, then I looked at what Cybox was doing for endpoint, and kind of logic would dictate that that's probably where they're going to go. Where I probably made a mistake is probably with the underscores or the dashes and the capitalization, but easily fixed. So that gets translated into the REST, Symantec REST version, which is basically like OpenIOC. It looks like an OpenIOC, but then it has an XML component where you specify the file, the hash, whether you think it's a threat or it's a risk and so on. I obscured all that. You don't see any of that. All you see is that you want that file there with that hash on that endpoint to just go away. And in the video, I was going to hit send and then go to the VMware that's actually, sorry, this is on my laptop. The laptop, go to the endpoint client and hit check in because it checks in every 15 minutes. That's what I have it set to. So I just wanted to hurry it up. And then you see this removed in like 3 seconds. Then once that's removed, 15 minutes later, it heartbeats again. to let the server, the proxy, the manager know I'm done. And then my proxy, are you there yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Finally gets that result. So it could take up to half an hour to get the whole thing done, but it's because of the way the architecture works. It's designed, this architecture was designed back in the Cygate days to heartbeat or push. And most huge organizations do not use push. Otherwise, a 200,000 node company would have 200,000 open sockets through a server 24 hours a day. It just doesn't scale very well. Well, unless you go to the cloud, I guess. You can pay for that. Report back. This is just a receipt. It's going to ask for a report, and you're not going to see it because it doesn't work. But when I hit send, then you would get a receipt like this. And then I manually copied this out. And then I click on the OpenC2 report command, which you submit that one, and now it's waiting in queue. When the endpoint finally deletes the file, it'll report the results back. Yeah, you will see the folder with the target. No, you won't. So let's move on. This is here's the report command. Great. So OpenC2 data, the reference ID, the receipt, where to send it, and it was all running locally, at least for this demo, what port, and the URI. And I'm sure I got those wrong, but again, they're easy to change once I become less ignorant. I needed a orchestrator, and I didn't want to set up anybody's specific orchestrator, so I wrote a Node.js little listener, very simple. I forgot that was there. So that's good. I wrote a little listener that just says, whatever I receive, show it on the screen, so that you would have seen a video of the XML and JSON coming back. This is a part of the little portal I was telling you about that has nothing to do with OpenC2, but it allowed me to grab the client IDs, group IDs, what groups they're in, IP address, all this. There's like another 80-some fields, but I didn't include them. I just needed the fundamentals. That's my two sons' laptops at home. So that's me. I can control their machines. And that's mine right there. And that's the server, and that's a test server I have. Anyway, let's see, do I have another one? No. So this is only one of the dashboard pieces. The other one is command queue, because there's no command queue that you can query in the manager, I discovered. So then you're going to have to take responsibility. In a pure orchestrator world, the orchestrator would send a command and then hold that and know that it sent a command. But what happens when you re-image an orchestrator and the database is gone? How do you get the list of the commands you sent from a week ago? And they're still pending. You can't. So I had to create this queue thing and have all the commands stored so that if the service would die, and it was brought back up, as long as that JSON file exists, you'll be able to see all the commands that previously had run. I'm really early, aren't I?
No, actually, right on time.
Okay, perfect. Then please join me on the breakout session, because I'll get it to work or I eat my hat.
Any questions for Efrain?
So, great work. I'm super excited to see a vendor start trying to play with OpenC2. So even though the demo didn't work, kudos. And I look forward to seeing an API for Symantec on-premise DLP at some point in the future. But anyway, my question is really going to be in the message fabric and the pub sub model that you're trying to create. I forget if Symantec has its own message fabric, but it would be really interesting to see you work with, let's say, OpenDXL and that message fabric.
Says a McAfee guy. No, just kidding.
So, but I mean, I think that's really the proof in the pudding, to be able to work across, to Wendy's point earlier,
Yep.
to truly work across different, even competing environments.
So he was a plant, sort of, because one of the things that I've been asked to do, and I really want to do this, is invite any of you to play with me. Like, I already spoke to one of you about setting up, I'll set up my own Amazon instance with my proxy. You set up yours, and let's get them to play together. I'm not currently allowed to give the source code out. We're going through an open source review board thing. I'm really wanting to put this out there, even though it's really crappy code, in my opinion. But it works, and it's better than many other things. But at least if I expose the API, you can integrate with it. You can control. You can see how you can control a Symantec endpoint and how to get responses and so on. So I welcome the collaboration. Just know that it'll be like something on Amazon. I'll give you API access. In regards to playing with others, like that slide in the beginning with all the APIs that we already have open, anybody can come play with us with that. But I welcome you to play with me with this one, because it seems to be catching steam.